Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Lower East Side here in the city, powered by the East Side Community Network and sponsored by none other than the Ford Foundation. Now, a content partner to the new bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey, and I'm flying solo today because Donna is feeling a little under the weather. You all send up a prayer for my co-host and my partner in crime. She sends her love to all of our listeners, and she hopes to be back with us really, really soon. We want to thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the East Side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you listen to us on. We drop a new episode every week, so be sure to turn on those notifications. Today, I am honored to welcome Jerry Hebron. She is an urban agriculture pioneer in our city, a mother to many, a food justice warrior, and one of my favorite Detroiters. Miss Jerry, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you. So glad to be here. I am really glad to be here.
Thank you. We're so honored that you're here. Also joining us is Ederique Goudia. Ederique is a chef, a restaurateur, and lover of all things food and people. Her work says so. She is also my good friend. Ederique, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Hey, good to be here, Orlando. Always a pleasure to be in conversation with you.
Can I just say what a joy it is to have you both join us on this podcast? I know that this will be a treat for the listeners, but I got to be selfish and say that this was some selfish ambition on my part to bring the two of you together.
Mine too. Listen. I was like, can I please be in conversation with Miss Jerry? Like anytime I can be in her presence, I'm like, yes, this was selfish on my part too.
Miss Jerry, I know you know this, but it can't be overstated that you radiate just so much light and love and joy that, you know, every time I get to be in your presence, I want to say that. And sometimes I have the opportunity and sometimes I don't. But I feel like you should hear that all the time. I want to give you your flowers because we are so honored. Donna is so honored that you said yes. You're a dream guest of ours. That's no lie.
That is amazing because, you know, my mom would be so happy to hear that because I was such a bad little child. So
were you? I would have never guessed that. And the thing is, to Orlando's point, not only do you radiate this light, but I was thinking about it, you know, earlier today, is this calm and that's this peace that is your spirit. So anytime I'm in your presence, it's very calming. And so I just want to thank you for whatever that is. And that is what you radiate, this like aura of like peace and calm. And I don't know if that's how you feel it, but that's what really, that's what comes off.
It's Bertha Carter. It's my mother. Thank you.
Shout out to the mothers, shout out to the grandmothers, all our ancestors who are still with us, and who really are the forerunners for what it is that we are trying to do and accomplish in our city, in our world every single day. We honor those folks, every day.
That's exactly why we do what we do.
Almost done. Can y'all believe we're almost done with January? Like, what happened to the month? Like, somebody said to me the other day, we're like in December. It's December 43rd. Like, we can't be January.
That is true.
I know. It was like after the election, time just like sped by. Then Christmas came, it was over. So January, this has been so busy. Mm-hmm. The month has been so busy just trying to get things done. I've been in 4 Zoom meetings today.
Woo! Hopefully this Zoom isn't. Well, this Zoom will provide some levity to your day. But you know, Ms. Jerry, I want to ask you, Ederique, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Like, where does this particular moment in time find you? I know it's a question.
For me, I'm grounded. I am grounded in my work. I am grounded in, you know, my community. And I just feel, and I guess, when you said, you know, peace and love and everything, like, I mean, that's the way I feel right now. So all of the work that we have to do, I see it culminating and coming into a place where I can look and say, wow, I'm really happy to be a part of this.
I love it.
And that's where I find myself there today.
I love it.
Look at you. I'm right here with you today.
Yeah. No moment like the present, right, Miss Jerry? Ederique, where does this moment in time find you?
You know, I I think what is definitely that what has happened is that, I have learned to um just really take better care of myself, what that looks like,
Yeah,
not just physically but mentally, emotionally, and putting my energy in things that serve me and my greater purpose, right? And I will say, and I every time I say this out loud, I'm like, oh, I'll be 40 this year. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. And so this
is what I want you to do, Ederique. I want you to stop lying on these airwaves. You understand?
I'm like, I'm gonna be 40 this year. And so, it's always this, like, when you turn 30, it was different. People before you turn 30, be like, listen, when you turn 30, it's gonna be this. And it's the same thing about 40, it's like this. And I'm feeling it already, where it's this like self-assuredness, this kind of confidence of like, I know who I am. And I understand I'm not perfect, and I'm still working on being better me every day, but I'm comfortable with who I am right now.
Wow. That's important.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yes.
Are you just now getting there at 40? Just being completely comfortable with, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just now.
What a journey though, right?
Yeah, it really has been. And if nothing, I mean, 2020 was definitely, I think, the biggest part of that journey in a lot of different ways. And I'm grateful for it. Absolutely grateful for it. But it feels different, but it feels great.
Yeah.
I mean, the journey is where all the lessons are. So absolutely. Look, we got to tell our listeners and apologize. Like, listen, we know that this episode is late this week. Don't chop our heads off. Just a few scheduling conflicts that made us have to record later on in the week, but we still love you nonetheless. All right, y'all, it's time for fresh off the press news that we are thinking about. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Before we get to the stories of the fresh off the press segment, though, it would be a glaring miss on our part if we didn't talk about the commutation of former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick's prison sentence. He is with his family in Atlanta, and I do not wish to speculate on what the former mayor should do next or how he should live out his newfound freedom. Kwame Kilpatrick is a polarizing figure in the city of Detroit, a name that sells papers and garners many clicks. Kwame captivated us with his charisma, his smarts, and his words, so much so that we elected him twice. He provided a reflection to a culture in Detroit that never saw themselves represented in Detroit's politics and power structure. I remember being a youngster on the East Side being completely enamored by the former mayor. His downfall was a part of the many precipitating events that brought Detroit to its knees, but history will show that he was not the sole reason. With him went many careers of those who to this day have a love and commitment to this city, producing a trauma that so many people are still grappling with today. I acknowledge that. I also acknowledge that some people are not happy with this decision. It begs the question once again around incarceration being the proper redress for certain crimes or not. It's a conversation that we welcome and will continue to have. But my request is for Detroiters to keep trudging forward on upward, gaining brand new heights every single day, as the old gospel hymn used to say. Fresh off the press, Detroit Council approves using public funds to countersue protestors. Bryce Huffman from Bridge Detroit is reporting. I got to tell you that this was a 5-4 vote The council people that voted against it were Raquel Castaneda Lopez, Council President Pro Tem Mary Sheffield, Councilman Gabe Leland, and I want to say Councilman James Tate also voted against it. We know that council people Ayers, Council President Jones, Councilperson Spivey, Councilperson Vincent, Councilperson McAllister voted in favor of using public money to fund a countersuit against Detroit Will Breathe, specifically, which is a group of protesters that marched in the streets for more than 100 consecutive days to combat police brutality. And, you know, I guess one of the things that I would say about this is, you know, I continue to grapple with the fact that the police chief of the largest majority Black city in America is constantly on par and on message with Donald Trump and his supporters. He is a constant guest on Fox News. He has called some of our young activists, you know, Marxists and, you know, domestic terrorists in some instances. And I guess I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the lack of progressiveness that this council continues to show time and time again. We were there. We watched on television. We saw in the newspapers, you know, Detroit police putting Nakia Wallace in a chokehold. We saw peaceful protests turn violent, not on part of the protesters, but by police making it violent, paramilitary equipment, the whole nine. And so Detroit Will Breathe is seeking redress for some of those indiscretions, and the city is, you know, countersuing. And I just can't figure out why. And I can't figure out why council will support the usage of public money to fund a countersuit. To me, it seeks to silence the voice of dissent. It seeks to silence progressivism. It seeks to go against what Detroit Will Breathe was trying to combat around police brutality, anti-poverty, anti-racism, and just emphatically stating that Black lives do matter in the Blackest city in the nation. And so, you know, I have a visceral reaction to folks who say and quote, you know, history to me out of context around peaceful protests. Martin Luther King was a peaceful protester. Martin Luther King had a strategy, right? Peaceful protests also always, most of the time, invoked violence, of which Martin Luther King was a victim of. Martin Luther King was a peaceful protester, but was shot and it was assassinated, right? And so this is a system that continues to reiterate itself, and it shows up all of these years later. And I just wish that we can, you know, figure out how to progressively move forward and put some pressure on these councils. I am so disappointed in this council. Like that can't be overstated. I am so disappointed in this council, and just how it's been moving lately. I'll yield time for you guys. Sorry about that.
And I think that, you know, that's really when I, you know, read the article and just really started to think about it. My question is why? Why? What is their why for saying yes to this? In McAllister, I think Councilman McAllister stated that, you know, he was in the military. Specifically, you know, to make sure people had the right to be able to protest. Okay, well, if that's the case, then how do you now, as a councilman, now go and say, oh, well, we're going to provide funds for the countersuit? Like that just doesn't even make sense. It was interesting, though, as I read the article, that it also said that the president of the National Lawyers Guild said that it was a national trend of government entities to intimidate grassroots activists. So unfortunately, this is not out of trend than what is happening nationwide. Right. The question is still why. Right. And in this city, why is that okay? It shouldn't be. And then particularly, I mean, if you know anything about Detroit, you know Detroiters don't intimidate you. They're not easily intimidated either. So the audacity to even think that this would be something that would intimidate grassroots activists here in Detroit. And I almost feel like that's in essence the why, because Detroit, that group, that organization, those activists had won several prior cases with, I want to say it was one of the, I think the curfew case.
District court throughout a case. Like
Yes.
there have been some legal victories on part of the Detroit Will Breathe, and I just cannot understand. I don't understand the time that this council is living in. I don't like, I don't know what reality that they're living, but I can't wrap my mind around why they would, give a green light for those public dollars to go to sue our young progressive activists.
Power.
Do you have any thoughts?
I just think that we as the voters are not being vocal enough and not paying attention enough. People should be upset, outraged at this, and be down there making it known. And we don't do enough of that. And because we do not do enough of that, they get a pass. So this is going to continue. We run out and we get excited and we make a little noise, and then we go back to our little cubby holes and we just, we become passive again. We have to hold them accountable, and we have to vote them out of office.
Say it.
When they don't deliver for us, because we're the reason they're there. Okay, we put them there, and they get there and they forget that. So that's the deal.
2021 is an election year, and so the citizens of this city have a personal responsibility, number one, to vote their conscience and to vote for community, right? We are a community of people. We not only want what's best for us individually, but we want what's best for the city. These folks are running again, and I think it is high time that we really hold up their voting records and their interests up against ours. And do they match? And as of late, I don't think so. I really don't think so, especially given this case.
Yeah. No, we have to do just that. Like you said, hold up the voting records and shout it out. People need to see this, and be aware of this. And again, when we go to the voting polls, we need to know what those records are and do your research. Stop giving these folks a pass.
It's high. This time is too important to be giving folks a pass and to be voting for them because we know them and we know their name. This time is too important. We're talking about, for me, a potential infringement on free speech with this. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, fresh off the press, veteran Detroiter running for mayor would seek major police reform. So this is on par with what we were talking about. Veteran Detroit politician Anthony Adams launched his run for Detroit mayor, casting himself as a reform-minded candidate who would overhaul police priorities. This is Louis Aguilar from Bridge Detroit reporting. Anthony Adams says the city of Detroit needs to change the whole notion of what policing is in his announcement, this past week. I said on this podcast back in December or November that if you are planning on running for mayor in 2021, you are already behind. So I am going to applaud, number one, somebody stepping up to challenge Mayor Mike Duggan, because I don't think politicians going unchallenged is healthy for any city. Or healthy for any voter electorate. I think everybody needs to be challenged. Competition is good in politics. But Anthony Adams has a big wall to climb. What's interesting is, the linkage to what we were just talking about and what former Deputy Mayor Anthony Adams is saying as a part of his vision, and that is major police reform, right? And in his announcement, he talked a lot about, number one, making sure that the city stays safe from violent crime, but also figuring out how to be innovative and not utilize police to solve every problem that we see in the community. And that's the first time I'm hearing somebody in Detroit on, on a mayoral candidate stage really talk about, some alternative methods of redress, restorative practices and justice, right? And not using police to solve every little thing. This is, for me, a welcomed announcement and cool competition for Mayor Mike Duggan, who will be indeed very hard to beat.
Yeah, I recall when Anthony Adams was in office as the deputy mayor, and I found him to be have a lot of vision in terms of the development in the city and supporting Black development at that particular time. I find it interesting now to be looking at, police reform and instilling programs that can, kind of separate some of the responses that our police officers, like the domestic violence and things like that they get pulled into. I think that is very much so needed, but I'm kind of cautioned and I take a step back because I'm like, why now? What has been the urge? So from the deputy mayor up until now, what has been the progress, the issues that have been addressed? And there's been nothing in that arena. So there's been a lot of silence. So I got to look at this real hard and kind of really, really, follow and then push to get information from them in terms of what that's going to look like. Because there are so many different areas. I got to say, during this pandemic, we worked very closely with our community relations, with our community police.
Community relations.
Yeah. And what we found is a lot of the calls that they were going to were not so much violent crimes, but a lot of them were domestic. Some of them were, neighbors disputes and things like that they were getting pulled into, where and resources being spent in those areas where they could have been spent in other areas. So that's what we have to look at, is the funding and, what programs are in place and things like that. So that's a huge, huge discussion and mountain to climb. And I definitely think that we need some reform in terms of how the money is spent and what programs are being supportive.
I think that's great how you're looking at that, and how surgical you're being with interrogating Anthony Adams's candidacy and asking, where have you been? where you been at, bruh? Because we've been in need of this conversation for a long time. Now it's a conversation that's welcomed. I like that he understands that, a lot of the nonviolent crimes are rooted in, racial disparate outcomes as a result of poverty. He sort of listed some of those things, and I can dig that, because oftentimes, as my friend Yodit would always say, let's stop treating the fish when the water is sick, right? We see symptoms of a thing, but we very rarely really go to the root. And from what I can gather from his announcement was that he's trying to address some root causes. And I definitely, welcome that conversation. But Ms. Jerry, I share your concern. Where you been at, bro? Ederique, you got anything to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing, Mike, the same questions that Mama Jerry has. What does that look like? Because as you stated, it sounds good and the vision sounds great. And he even said, he quoted, we need to begin to decriminalize a lot of conduct in our city to put us in a position to put people on pathways to productive citizenships. That's accurate and that's true. But again, what does that look like? Especially as to your point, we know poverty is the real issue. So what programs are you putting in place? What do you have in mind to get people out of poverty so that would in turn stop some of the behavior?
Right.
Whether that's
And now it's the
domestic or
time to
criminal.
ask those questions, right? Because as we know, with anybody who's running for anything, the access that we will have to them in an election year is always, frequent, right? Because they want to come around, they want our votes. And so I think it's time that we ask, those hard questions, not just of Anthony Adams, but I think it is incumbent upon us too to ask some of the same questions to current Mayor Mike Duggan, who is also running,
Right.
and ask him about his police chief and his rhetoric and whether or not he sanctions that, right? And ask him about, and hold up his record against some of the progressive values that we all espouse, especially, I don't know if this is super progressive, but a free speech and a right to assemble and protest, because the city has a countersue, right? So, yeah. And the other thing that I would say, to just put a button on this, is to interrogate all of the narrative, that comes out of the mayor's office, and to interrogate the narrative that each of these candidates are trying to cascade up against what we know to be reality and what we see every day. And when it is appropriate to do so, offer that counter.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. That wraps up our Fresh Off the Press segment. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Listen, I still got Miss Ederique Goudia and Miss Jerry in the house, and you two have certainly been keeping busy with all of the things. I mean, all of the things that y'all have going on. And I have so much to ask both of you, but I first just want to know, like, what's going on? Like, update us on your work. What you been doing, Miss Jerry? How's it going?
Yeah, this work has been amazing. And, the pandemic, hit us so terribly hard and fast last year. So a year ago in January, we were planting, we were, had our connections and relationships that we had built with restaurants. We had our hoop houses full of spinach and chard and some other greens. And we were getting orders, big orders, where we were delivering to Foundation Hotel and some other hotels downtown. And then February came and it was beginning to slow down a little bit. And we was like, what's going on down here? And not really realizing that we were in a pandemic until March. And so March 15th, when everything shut down, restaurants were closed, chefs weren't working anymore, and they had all this inventory, food that had been ordered for months ago for delivery, fruit, dairy, produce, you name it, they had it. And it was like, what do we do with it? And so we started getting the calls, not to buy, but to come and pick up and deliver to community. So we became
Miss Jerry, who
food distribution hub.
Who was the we for the listeners who don't know?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oakland Avenue Urban Farm became an emergency food hub, distribution hub. You know, working with chefs like Chef Phil Jones, Chef Max, you know, Maxwell Hardy, the too many cooks in the kitchen down at Centennial, what is it, Horatio Hall. So it was crazy. But then what was good about it was the fact that people could not get out. They were going to the grocery stores, the shelves were bare and things like that. And here we were with this amazing team. And it wasn't just a farm. They were providing food to homeless shelters, people on the street, alternative girls' schools. It's just wherever there was a large population of people, the food was going to. And these were hot meals in addition to produce and other things that restaurants had. And it was amazing because we would get the call and it would say, we got 100 dozen eggs that we need to get out to community. We would go and pick them up.
Wow.
Cheese, milk, I mean, big things. So this went on through from March 15th to May 15th. And within that time period, we, Oakland Avenue Urban Farm, we fed about 3,000 people, but the entire team fed 25,000 people within those weeks. So the farmers market was our next goal. We started working for that, and we did open in July, thinking, not really knowing what to expect, but it ended up being the best farmers market season that we have ever had.
Amazing.
In the 10 years.
Wow.
People wanted to come out. The environment was safe. People wore their masks. They used a hand sanitizer. They socially distanced. All of our vendors made a lot of money. And we still were able to give away free food. You know, because the need just increased. It didn't go away. And so that's where we have been, Orlando, for the last 10 months. We're still there. We go back to work tomorrow, working with Food Rescue Us. But the most exciting thing I'm excited about is the project that we have for Black History Month.
Oh, so Ederique,
I'm really excited about that.
You grew up perfectly, Ederique. So
yes.
Tell us what that project is and what's happening.
So that project, so to Mama Jerry's point, I do need to kind of preface how this project came to be, because as Mama Jerry mentioned, the need for food insecurity increased, right? So food insecurity in the state of Michigan increased by 30%. From February before the pandemic to April, 30%. And people are continuing, like more and more workers are continuing to apply for unemployment benefits. So not only unemployment, but again, food insecurity is increasing. So there's a huge need for people, whether it's, food, fresh produce, milk, eggs, things like that, staples, but also prepared meals. And so through this pandemic for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I started working with Make Food Not Waste, which is an organization that was really created to keep food out of landfills. So 30% of all the food that is grown in the United States ends up in landfills. That's a lot of food, especially 30%, when you 30%. That's a lot of food. And so when you think about how much food ends up in landfills, but then how much people are food insecure, especially in the city of Detroit. Detroit Food Policy Council puts food insecurity in the city of Detroit at 39%. 39% of Detroiters are food insecure. That means that's like your neighbor.
That's right.
And so when you look at, okay, there's all this food that hopefully we can say we don't want to end up in landfills, and there's so many people that need food. Well, why don't we feed the people that need it instead of putting food in landfills? And so we started working with Make Food Not Waste. And for Thanksgiving, we were able to feed 5,000 Detroiters. We partnered with different restaurants, chefs and bakers to make an entire Christmas meal for people that would not have had, or Thanksgiving meal for people that would not have had because they're food insecure. It was really beautiful. And so we turned around, that was Thanksgiving, and then turned around and fed 6,000 Detroiters a Christmas meal for those that would not have had because they're currently food insecure because they lost their jobs or they're reduced in hours. And so, you know, Neighborhood Grocery, who Raphael Wright owns Neighborhood Grocery on the East Side. He was one of my our distribution partners. East Side. He was one of our distribution partners for both the Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. And we were having a conversation, after. I was just asking them, how did the community respond? How did people react? How do you feel about being able to provide that for the community? And he was just like, really wanted to do something like that again. Obviously, there's a huge need for it. And so we started just talking, and it developed into Taste the Diaspora. Which is the project that we're launching for Black History Month. And so what that really is as we thought about, not only people that need meals, but like, how do we celebrate our food from our culture? And when we looked around and realized that there really is no celebration of food, of the cuisines or food from the African diaspora here in Detroit, It was like, why? Well, we can do it, right? And why shouldn't we? And why hasn't there been? And so it did develop into Taste the Diaspora Detroit, where we are highlighting cuisines of the African diaspora all month long. So each week we are highlighting a different cuisine. So week 1, we're highlighting African cuisine. Week 2 will be Creole. Week 3, it is Caribbean. And then week 4, it is soul food or American Southern food.
I'm with all of that. Like, I can't wait.
Listen, we are very excited. And so what we are doing is, because not only do we have people in the city that are food insecure, but all businesses have all been affected by this pandemic.
Absolutely.
Businesses in particular, and Black businesses even more.
More disparately affected.
Oh my God, 41% compared to 17% of white businesses. 41% of Black businesses,
we know those FBA resources went to as well. Yeah,
exactly. And Wayne County had the lowest percentage from that PPP loan. And so we looked at that and, okay, so how can we help some of our Black businesses, our Black restaurants, chefs? Because even if you're a private chef or a caterer, sometimes you're not applicable to some of these loans and grant programs because you don't have a brick and mortar. So it's not just even about supporting the restaurants, but it's about supporting those Black chefs and private chefs and caterers. And then also, what about our Black farmers, who some of them have been shut out of the USDA distribution program?
Absolutely.
Some of these farmers, they relied on, the USDA purchased product from them. So they're in the middle of growing, thinking that these products are going to go to the USDA. Everything stops. Wow. What happens then? So they're even, they're hurting as well. And so we just put this together. Really, it was really about building community and about supporting each other and trying to figure out how to put money back in the hands of our Black restaurants, our Black chefs, and our Black farmers and our Black food makers. And that's just what we wanted to do. And we wanted to do it in a way that was very intentional and impactful and represented our culture and our food. And this is kind of really what came out of it. And Mama Jerry has been such an amazing partner because
Mama Jerry, tell us how you got involved. What made you say yes? Because I'm sure everybody's knocking on your door trying to get a piece of that light.
and I don't say yes to everybody. That's the key right there. But really, what's exciting about this project is that we already have the infrastructure in place for Black businesses to support each other. It's just a matter of connecting the dots. Idris pulled this together like that. I mean, in November, 5,000 people were fed. In December, 6,000 people were fed. You know why? Because you already have the skill set, you got the connection, and the partners are already in place. It's a matter of a phone call. So for us, we are already doing food distribution. We already had the narrative going around in the urban ag community that we have Black chefs in our city that need our food. Why aren't we working with them?
Yep.
What's up with that?
Yep.
So we have the infrastructure already in place, and this is the model going forward, connecting the chefs with the growers. They don't have to go down to the terminal and buy food that they don't know where it's coming from. They can buy it right here in Detroit from the local growers, you know, and that's that circular.
Keeping a dollar in our community. Absolutely. Yep. And then to that, you know, Orlando, so Oakland Avenue Farms will serve as the pickup location. So what happens is how we're supporting these local chefs and farmers and restaurants is that per week, 2 chefs, so we have 2 Black chefs, will make a dish. So there'll be 2 African dishes. Those dishes will be sold together in a shoebox lunch. So you'll get 2 dishes, right, in that box, and you order it online, and Oakland Avenue will serve as the pickup location. So contactless curbside pickup, you pull up, tell us your order number, we'll bring your order right over to you, and you drive off. You can enjoy those meals at home.
I want you to talk a little bit about, the journalist in me has to ask this question around the significance of the meal going into the shoebox. What is that? Where did that come from? And is that a nod to anything? Why a shoebox?
Okay, so I'm 70. And I remember making that drive down I-75 going south, where we could not stop for food. So we packed everything in the car.
Why couldn't you stop, Miss Jerry?
Oh, because we could not be served. It was not going to be safe. And it was a matter of, we wanted to make sure that we got where we were going without any issues. And so we had everything in the car we needed: water, food, most, chicken, bread, whatever, and some dessert and some fruit, packed away in those little boxes, those little shoe boxes. Okay. On your road trip.
Yeah. And that's what we just wanted to honor that. There's a lot of storytelling, and I mean, food in itself, it's an entire journey. It's storytelling, especially our food. And we really wanted to honor that. It's also an emotional journey. I had, since we started talking about this and really building this out, it has been extremely emotionally overwhelming. As we continue to build this out, as we continue to even just having a conversation with Mama Jerry and asking, because I know she don't say no, yes to everybody. And I was like, Lord, be with me today. When I asked her if we, partner on this, and I'm so glad that she was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, really? I feel so honored. Oh my God.
That's how I was yes to the podcast.
Go through Chef Phil. I was like, Chef Phil, can you ask Mama Jerry? Because I'm like, listen, because it's so significant, it's so important, and it's also about building those bridges in a very intergenerational way too.
But that emotional energy that you are talking about it is pride, it is happiness, it is new knowledge for some of us that feeds our soul, and that tells us more about who we are and the stock and the blood that runs through our veins. Like, I'm on a journey right now on ancestry.com, and it's a deeply emotional journey, right? To see my great grandfather's signature and his draft card, to see my great-great-grandfather, born in the 1880s, put minister on his census form in the early 1920s, right? And not farmer down in the Delta of Mississippi. And what that does for the soul, that knowledge, that pride, that emotional energy that we feel when we hear those stories, when we hear Miss Jerry talking about not being able to stop because you couldn't be served. Like, that's us. That's us, and it needs to be shared broadly.
Absolutely. And that's the thing I think also is the value of storytelling. Like I grew up in Louisiana and I grew up, you know, my grandfather raised hogs and we slaughtered them. He had 3 gardens. So I lived off the land. And of course, that was normal to me. And then I go to middle school and high school and, you know, and more in the bigger city. And they're like, no, we go to the grocery store. Like, you know, I'm like, am I that country? Like, what? You know, and it's almost like, not to say embarrassing, but you're just like, that's not normal to everybody. And then you get older and you realize the value in that story, like the value in me growing up that way and the value in all of our stories. And that's another part of this is telling that story. Everyone has one. But for, you know, someone like Mamba from Baobab Fair to not only tell his story through the food that he's making for being featured for the African week, but then being able to talk about like what that meal means to him and his family, how his mom served it, and to us to be able to get that story out. And then to go, and then he got, you know, those products. He got them from Oakland Avenue. He got it from deeply rooted produce. So it was grown here in Detroit by a Black farmer.
Right.
Yes,
right.
You
Can
know,
you
or
talk a little bit? I think it's worth, guys, and I want you both to speak to this, to name who the partners are in this initiative, because they are all, number one, y'all are doing God's work, and then number two, to see this vision of celebrating, you know, the food of our diaspora all month long, and to you know, to get on board and agree. I mean, they need to be named. They need to be acknowledged for that.
yes. Well, let me first, I have to name Oakland Avenue Farm, not only as the pickup location, but to Mama Jerry's point about needing meals and us feeding those that are food insecure. And here's the thing, we don't want to leave anybody out. This shouldn't be where because maybe you can't afford to pay for box that you can't participate. That's not where it started, was providing meals for people that would not have. And so a percentage of these meals we are going to be giving away for free to those that come and pick up from Oakland Avenue Farm on Fridays, so they can still participate in this initiative. And the box will include a QR code. So when they scan it, it takes them to the website so that they can learn more about the chefs, learn more about the additional partners, get the resources and read the articles, because this is for all of us. This isn't just for someone who's going to pay or donate to the cause. This is for all of us. So why should they lack? And so I also want to name Mama Jerry and Oakland Avenue Farm for being that, to say, you know, when you come and pick up your meal, you know, the food box distribution on Friday, we can also provide you with that free meal to celebrate the African diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Baba Fair, who is of course opening up their first restaurant in Midtown, and then partnered with him in the first week, which is African cuisine, is chef and farmer Aziza Ford. I love Aziza because not only is she a chef, but she's also a farmer, and she's absolutely beautiful as well. But to be able to tell that story and do both, it's just really beautiful. So I'm excited to see her. And particularly, she is making red with plantains and jollof rice. And in the jollof rice, she will be using Mrs. Pruitt's cha-cha, the turbo heat. So she's gonna make sure it's some heat in there. But then for us to be able to explain the story of cha-cha, because that's also very cultural too. So that's very exciting. For Creole Week, of course, you know, I got to do Creole Week, right? So I'll
from Louisiana,
of course. So I'm doing Creole Week. I'll be making gumbo zerbs, which is a vegetarian gumbo, really made famous by the queen of the matriarch of Creole cuisine, which is Chef Leah Chase, the late Chef Leah Chase. And but it'll be all vegetarian, so it's greens. So I'm getting fresh greens from Oakland Ave. I'm getting fresh greens from some of my other farmers and partners, deeply rooted produce, over some great cakes. And then who will be joining me that week is Jermaine Booz, who is another one of the organizers. He's from Arkansas. And so, of course, Creole cuisine, and he has family in Louisiana as well. So Creole cuisine is very important to him, and he's going to be making jambalaya, which, of course, you know, is a staple in Creole cuisine. I told him else he had to get it right. I was like, I will talk about you. And then Caribbean Week is Chef Renelle Billups, who opened up her brick and mortar in Pontiac called Flavors of Jamaica. She is Jamaican born and raised. Her food is absolutely delicious, and she's making an Etal stew. And then partnered with her is Chef Ryan Eli Salter, who is a caterer.
The Bachelor Chef.
Yes, the Bachelor Chef. That is right. And he's making, I think, a brown chicken stew. And then he does have a vegan option for those that are vegetarian and vegan. And you know, his grandfather, I'm going to say his grandfather is lived in a Dominican Republic, and he actually spent some time living in, I want to say, Barbados. So he has ties to the Caribbean. And then the last week is week 4, which we are focused on Southern cuisine. So we have none other than Chef Chris from Savannah Blue, who is going to do a sweet potato and corn succotash. That's right, with some cornbread. And he's amazing. I mean, classically trained chef. Chef Chris is just, he really is absolutely amazing. And then partner with him is our wonderful friends over at Relish Catering. So LaJean Squires and Brittany Peeler, they are doing a black eyed pea masala with Jira rice. Because, you know, their style of cuisine is indie soul. They went to India for 4 months and then a chef externship, and that really influenced the food that they cook. And so their style of cuisine is indie soul. So they're going to give us a little bit of indie soul. And I'm really excited about that too.
Well, it just speaks to, you know, the amalgamation of all of just who we are, our culture, and, you know, some of the foods that help tell the story of our culture and our parents and our grandparents. I want to talk to you both as, you know, humans. Miss Jerry, you know, I look at your work and I look at your status and am constantly amazed. And you've been at this a while, but I want to ask you, what motivates you to, you know, keep at it after all these years? What motivates you to keep going?
Just being able to get up in the morning, and when I live across the street from the firm, across Oakland. And when I get up in the morning and go down to put my coffee pot on, I look out my window across Oakland at the farm. And it's like, I can't wait to get in that space, because that space has energy, it's healing, it's inspirational. And the anticipation is, I never know who's going to show up on a given day. But it's always somebody I want to talk with and spend a moment with. So that keeps me going every day. And
what is your impetus for, you know, inspiration and motivation to keep at this? I mean, you've been thousands of people, both of you, thousands of people since last year. Where does that come from?
I think you said it very well, kind of in the introduction, about, you know, my love for all things food and people. And that is the God honest truth. You couldn't have said it better. My first love was food. My second love was people. And, you know, before I had dreams of becoming a chef, I wanted to be a psychologist because I love people. I wanted to help people. And it's the same thing. I think it's just, you know, using kind of food as that vehicle. But it's really, if you look at anything that I've done or continue to do, it's all about building community. That's really all it is. And so that's why it's so important for me that whenever I do these things, like, I'm involving other people, whether that is being able to provide people with additional revenue or income or exposure or support, whatever that looks like, resources, tools, because it is all about building community and helping us all be better. And do this life thing in the best way that we can, and do it together. So really, that's what continues to motivate me. And I think also in where I sit, again, making it being everything about this being very intergenerational, and you know, someone like, you know, Mama Jerry, you know, hopefully giving her a chance to know that there are people that you can pass the baton to, right? Like, you can, you know, get some rest or pass the baton, and then at, you know, where I am going, okay, pass it to me, and then now I'm going to now look to who I'm passing it to and start to bring them along now. So then talking to our youth, educating this. And again, this project is also about educating in that history. You know, I work with Detroit Food Academy, and telling my students, we start to have this conversation around the African, you know, the cuisines of the diaspora, and showing them videos and having conversations. And we have a capstone at the end of the year that is going to be they're making a dish from a certain cuisine. And after our conversations around the African diaspora, many of them changed the cuisine that they were going to focus on. They were thinking about Japanese and Italian. Now they're like, I didn't think about Jamaican. I didn't think about African. You know, I didn't think about a fusion. Maybe I want to do some Asian African. Maybe I want to do some curry goat now for my capstone, instead of it being, you know, something that doesn't relate to me. You know, another one was like, my grandmother's Native American. How can we do something more indigenous? These are the things that we want to be able to then, so that now I have someone that I can pass the baton to.
Yeah, you definitely, you got to build that bench. Ederique, I want to ask you, you know, is there a website? Are there social media handles for Taste the Diaspora Detroit? We want people to take advantage of this amazing opportunity and the coming together of all of these Black chefs to tell their stories through food.
Yes. So there are several ways that you can participate. We do have a website called tastethediaspora.com, TASTETHEDIASPORA. So tastethediaspora.com. On that website, you can order your meals starting today. You can order all meals at once for all 4 weeks, or you can order them per week. And then of course, pickup is going to be at Oakland Avenue Farms on Fridays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So you have to pre-order on the website. You cannot just show up. And it's a limited quantity. So I do advise ordering that as soon as possible, so that before we sell out. Also, you can also donate to the cause. So maybe you don't live in Detroit. Are you unable to come and pick up meals? We do, it can be, we do accept donations, being that currently this is self-funded. And then it's just, again, to pay some of our generous partners for all of their support. As well as we do have social media handles. So you can find us on Facebook at Taste the Diaspora Detroit, or Instagram at Taste Diaspora Detroit. Yeah. We are very, very excited to be able to really execute this and put this together. And again, it's really all in support of Black farmers, chefs, and restaurants. And, you know, if we're able to sell out, which we're planning on every week, we are putting $10,000 back in the hands of Black chefs and restaurants for the month. That's pretty impactful.
That is very impactful, a tangible impact. And, you know, we have a couple minutes left. Ms. Jerry, I really just want to allow space for you to, you know, impart something to our listeners. What do you want to leave our listeners with in regards to the work, in regards to food justice, whatever's on your heart? I just want to give you the space to just say it, because you're you, and I yield.
Yes, give it to us, please.
Thank you. I just want to leave our listeners with this one thought, that when I love Detroit, I never wanted to live any place else other than Detroit. And when I look around at all the talent and skills and resources that we have within our community, you know, the community assets, it is amazing. So I want everybody to look at their communities and identify what your assets are within your communities and build on that.
An amazing way to end that conversation, because there are assets. We just have to look for them. And, you know, that also requires a shift of consciousness to look at us and see us as an asset, and see our communities with the asset. So thank you so much.
Ashe.
Ashe. You have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Authentically Detroit, or email us at authenticallydetroit.com. I have a couple shout outs, and then I want you guys, if you guys have shout outs, please, by all means. But I want to shout out Roz Brewer, a native Detroiter who is now the CEO of Walgreens. Go ahead. Roz is short for Rosalind, but you know how we do. Go ahead, Miss Roz. Go ahead, Ms. Roz, running a Fortune 500 company. And you know what? I got to shout out these kids on Reddit who are disrupting capitalism as we know it.
Yes.
It is happening on Wall Street.
Yes.
It's happening in the stock market. It's unprecedented. It is historical. And it brings to bear and on the international stage, the lengths of which the very wealthy in this country will go to protect their wealth, even while taking the safety net from those of people who are the most marginalized, right? And so what's happening right now, and that what they're trying to stop is historic, and I am enjoying watching it, right? Dr. Dickens made the point that, you know, Black people, we have a certain kind of relationship with capitalism because we were once the capital. The bodies of labor. And so I acknowledge that, and I could never be a full-fledged supporter of that system that extracted, number one, not just our lives, but extracted our lives and our labor as collateral to build the wealth of the 1% that exists in this country. So shout out to all of those users on Reddit, making their voices heard and reverberated throughout the world. Y'all got some shout outs?
I have a shout out. I have a shout out to all the Black urban farmers that we supported last year. 30 of them are hitting the ground in 2021. Look out for what's about to happen in Detroit.
Yes.
Awesome. You got a shout out?
I just got to shout out the rest of my partners really quick because Marigold Conservancy, for sure, they have been stellar in allowing us to utilize that kitchen space. And then our local farmers and makers who will be showcasing as well, nurturing our seeds, who grew microgreens specifically for these chefs. Deeply rooted produce, Mr. Levi's Mighty Fine Soul Sauce. I'll be making sure I get his soul sauce and some of that gumbo.
Levi Johnson?
Yes. Mr. Levi Johnson, Black Business Finder, and then also Uncorked Spices. So those are some of the Black food makers that the chefs will be featuring in their dishes, of course, as well as produce from Black farmers.
Awesome. And I want to shout out my trusted co-host and partner in crime, Donna Givens Davidson, whose voice is gone, but you know, she still got them quick Twitter and Facebook fingers, so don't get too comfortable.
Okay, that spirit ain't going nowhere. So
nowhere. We will see her when she's well. Until then, thank you all for listening. We want you to catch the wave.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
This was great.